We want to move to this. Direct peace talks to end the war between Russia and Ukraine are at a standstill at this hour, as Ukraine reports a major escalation in Russian retaliatory attacks on its territory. Over the weekend, Russia launched its biggest single-day drone attack of the three-year war. You see some of the aftermath next to me. They launched hundreds of drones and missiles. CBS News foreign correspondent Imtiaz Tyab joins us with more from London. Imtiaz, good morning to you. What are we learning about this latest barrage of quite intense attacks from Russia?
Errol, good to be with you. Well, what I can tell you is that Ukraine's Air Force says Russia launched around 60 drones just overnight. Now, that injured 3 people in the south of the country. And while devastating, this isn't as large as what we've seen for the past 3 consecutive nights over the weekend, which saw massive drone strikes against Ukraine, the largest drone attacks since Russian President Vladimir Putin launched his full-scale invasion all the way back in February of 2022. Now, several Ukrainians were killed and many more were injured in those strikes. Posting on social media, President Trump suggested Mr. Putin had, and I'm quoting here, gone crazy. He also criticized the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky for calling out apparent U.S. inaction against Russia. Errol.
First time we've seen, or it's a continuation of an adjusted tone from the U.S. president. Imtiaz, I want to ask you about, after this successfully completed prisoner swap over the weekend, now you've got both sides pointing the finger about reaching a peace deal. What is each side requesting that's not being delivered? We know that Russia has long been criticized for not really offering anything up in exchange for an end to the hostilities.
Yeah, Errol, it's a complicated situation, but let's start with those prisoners' release. Ukraine and Russia have completed what has been described as a 1,000 for 1,000 prisoner swap after 3 full days of exchanges. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Sunday that the final 300 or so Ukrainian captives scheduled to be released had been returned from Russia in the final stage of the largest ever swap, as we've been saying, between these warring countries. Now, we're looking at images of the releases which the two sides agreed on in Istanbul over a week ago. It showed those returned prisoners with shaved heads, many wrapped in flags, being reunited with loved ones in Ukraine. Now, the hope is that this will lead to some sort of ceasefire and indeed a negotiated end to the war. But both sides, it seems, are a long way off from that.
Yeah, the relief on those prisoners' faces is so evident. And what about this shift in tone from the U.S. president? Have we seen a Kremlin response to President Trump threatening now new sanctions on Russia?
Yeah, Errol, it's pretty extraordinary, and it's clear President Trump is growing frustrated by Vladimir Putin's continued attacks on Ukraine and the slow pace of these peace talks, and is now reportedly eyeing sanctions against Moscow. But the real concern is that he is also reportedly considering abandoning the talks altogether if this final push for a ceasefire does not work. Now, this, of course, would be a remarkable change for a leader who campaigned on his ability to end the conflict, in his own word, on his first day in office. Now, what's also unclear is what would happen if the U.S. did, in fact, retreat from this peace process, and whether President Trump would even continue to provide military support to Ukraine, which so desperately needs it. Errol.
All right, Imtiaz Tyab reporting for us from London. Imtiaz, thank you.